All right, let's try this again. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. I realized I did not have my mic on in the moment, so had to get mic'd up. But anyway, welcome to Before the Four, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast, wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream. You know, as always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Thursday afternoon here. Now let's begin with an update to the deadly police chase last weekend. The man Priceville police were chasing as part of a pursuit that turned deadly was released from the hospital today and booked into the Morgan County Jail. Now Archie Hale, that's who you're seeing on screen, he's been charged with murder as he was being chased last Saturday for the suspicion of a DUI. Now it all started with a chase initiated by Priceville police on I-65. Within a minute of the chase, it was off the interstate and on Main Street in Hartselle. The chase ended with a violent crash. Now, Hale crashed into a car carrying several teenagers. One of the teens, Tristan Hollis, was killed. His funeral was set for today. Priceville police say the officer involved in the chase is currently on leave and an investigation is being conducted regarding the pursuit. The officer involved was identified as Gary Chapman, the son of Dwayne Chapman, better known as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Now, according to Hollis's obituary, he was a very polite young man and loved sweet treats. It also said he had just got a license over the summer and his first car. Hale has no bond on the murder charge, but also faces other charges, including attempting to elude, possession with intent, DUI, reckless endangerment, and several moving violations. The total bond on the other charges is nearly $300,000. And of course, we'll have the latest on this situation coming up in our evening newscasts. But now in Huntsville, where a verdict has been reached for a former Oakwood University basketball coach. Kashana Strong was found not guilty of murder earlier today. Strong was accused of murdering Antonio Robinson in 2022 as he was dropping off a child with the mother. Strong and Robinson were part of a love triangle involving a third woman, Tiana Eldridge, the mother of Robinson's child. Robinson was shot 3 times, though a specialist testified during the trial that it's possible Robinson shot himself during the ordeal. Eldridge testified that Strong and Robinson were fighting and both reached for guns leading up to the shooting. Eldridge testified that Strong was defending herself. But now, both local and national lawmakers are taking to social media following the tragic shooting death of political commentator Charlie Kirk yesterday. 48's Nick Ballinger with what they're saying, as well as hearing from a local political analyst. Nick Ballinger reports.
It's a wound to democracy itself.
As the news of conservative activist Charlie Kirk's assassination began reaching the House and Senate chambers, reactions from lawmakers across the country came shortly after. President Donald Trump, who experienced 2 assassination attempts himself, the first to break the news of his death, saying on Truth Social, quote, "He was loved and admired by all, especially me." The known right-wing commenter's death also garnering attention from former President Joe Biden, saying, quote, "There is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now." From back home, Representative Dale Strong telling 48 News in a statement, quote, "I am praying for the Kirk family and all those who loved him. The horrific political violence we witnessed today has no place in the United States." Political analyst Wayman Burke says political violence has always been present but has only ramped up.
We don't want a lawless society where people feel fearful of speaking their mind.
This is yet another political assassination in our country over just the past year.
Probably makes some people more fearful to be involved in the process or show up to political events and so forth.
Burke says Kirk's roots of having conversations with people who disagree with him were exactly what politics should be.
I hope it doesn't stifle that open, honest debate that people can have about what policies you may favor or disfavor. What this person who committed this murder did was to shortcut all of that, of course.
And 48's Noah Cowell will be further following up on this situation later tonight in our evening newscast, so make sure to stick around. But now, today marks 24 years since the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City, as well as the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Now, that Tuesday morning was shattered by the news of Islamic terrorists hijacking 4 commercial flights before 2 of those jets ultimately crashed into both World Trade Center towers in New York. Another one slammed into the Pentagon and another into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Today, Huntsville first responders held a memorial event at the exact same time the first plane hit the tower. Chief Kirk Giles says as they remember this grim event, it's essential to remind first responders about the sacrifices they may face on the job.
We remind our officers, especially when in training, that the job that you're taking on, you may have to make the ultimate sacrifice for people you don't even know. And if you're not willing to do that, you do not need to be a first responder.
And now let's take a look at what to expect with the weather for the rest of this week. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis has the latest. Brad?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. We've had a couple of showers kind of pop up on us. We saw this in some of the short-range model guidance yesterday, kind of discounted it because it really showed a lot more than what we have out there. But needless to say, we've got an isolated shower moving through the Huntsville metro area. The time on this is a little after 3 o'clock, so about 3:15 or so. Keep that in mind. We've also got another area north of Pulaski. A little bit of lightning with this, but that's kind of gone down here. But overall, we expect the possibility of a very isolated shower or thunder shower out there, and it may produce some very localized heavy rainfall. 90 degrees in Huntsville, about as warm as it's been all day. Area temperatures are generally in the upper 80s to near 90. And where we do have temperatures in the low 80s and upper 70s, that's areas that have had those very remote, isolated showers. Here's your forecast for the grilling weather this evening. Should be pretty good out there, but again, an isolated rogue shower, thunderstorm possible. Temperatures in the low 80s, so a little bit more humidity out there too. And overall, the humidity drops again tomorrow. Weak boundary moving through today, and that's what's leading to a few of those showers. 91 tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday 92. Dry weather into next week.
Well, good to know. Thank you, Brad. And also, don't forget, First Alert Weather Extra tonight at 9:30 here in the streaming center. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis. He'll be back here and he'll have all the latest that he's seeing on the radar as we move into the weekend. You're just not going to want to miss it. Leave a comment. Brad will shout you out on the live stream. He always has a great time with it. So just not going to want to miss it. You can watch it wherever you're watching before the 4 this afternoon. But now we're going to head to break, but coming up, taking a look at a new weapon detecting dog for Madison City Schools. And of course, more on the 48 Blitz game of the week. 48 sports anchor Kaylee Tinkelstad has all the latest coming up in just 1 minute. Make sure to stick around. Well, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the 4. Now, meet Gemini. He's the brand new weapon detection dog at Madison City Schools. 48's Noah Cowell introduces us. Let's take a look.
Madison City Schools is the only district in the area that has had a fatal shooting in its past. That dates all the way back to February of 2010, when one student shot another student in the hallway of Discovery Middle School. Now, with 2 gun incidents happening last fall, one being here in Bob Jones High School, school leaders have called for more security upgrades. So they brought in a weapons detector with an unrivaled sense of smell. Meet Gemini, a 16-month-old black lab from Auburn who was raised a social and friendly dog, but more importantly, one that could find weapons with her nose.
We're always looking to stay ahead of the curve, and the vapor wake technology that Gemini incorporates is cutting edge and very innovative.
The vapor wake technology developed at Auburn University allows dogs to find the odor of gunpowder in the air and track it down, whether the source is stationary or moving. Gemini goes to 3 Madison schools a day, and once that bell rings, she goes to work.
When Gemini's working, she's always sniffing, she's always looking for everything. We've run the tests where she will immediately break away from the pets and go after the odor of the bag or whatever we're using.
They will often test Gemini, hiding a weapon at the corner of a room, and she will find it in under 30 seconds. K9 Officer Kern says Gemini can find a gun that hasn't been used in 10 years and can even detect the residue that's been left on a backpack from days before.
You can beat a metal detector, they have to be staffed. The nose of the dog, no one's gonna beat the dog. No one's gonna beat that nose. So it's always gonna win.
Kern's schedule with Gemini is randomized weekly, something he and Gulliver believe is a huge advantage. On the other hand, Gemini can't cover all 5 middle and high schools throughout the district every day. So Gulliver is trying to push for more canines to join them, something he's confident will happen sooner rather than later. Reporting in Madison, Noah Cowell, 48 News, on your side.
Cool stuff there. And now week 3 of some Tennessee Valley High School football officially begins tonight with 2 games going on here in North Alabama. St. John Paul II is facing off against North Jackson, as well as Columbia taking on Hartselle. And of course, plenty more happening tomorrow night. Our 48 game of the week this week, the battle of the undefeated. West Morgan versus Priceville. 48's Kaylee Tinglestad with a preview of that game.
2 undefeated programs battling in our 48 Blitz game of the week. The Bulldogs of Priceville in Class 5A host one of the top programs in North Alabama, West Morgan, ranked 3rd in the state in Class 4A.
Obviously, over the last few years with Coach Phillips, they've had a ton of success. And, you know, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
The West Morgan Rebels are rolling on a 27-game regular season win streak, including last year's 48-point shutout victory over the Bulldogs. But this Priceville squad is much improved, already notching 3 wins this season compared to last year's 2-8 finish.
You don't get many opportunities to play a top 5 team much, especially at your home field, especially when both teams are undefeated. And then you throw into the fact that it is a rivalry game.
The Priceville defense made huge gains from last season, keeping opponents to less than 2 scores. But the Bulldogs will have their work cut out for them Friday night, facing one of the top rushers in the state, West Morgan's Makari Johnson, with over 500 yards and 9 touchdowns through 3 games.
The team that blocks and tackles well more times than not is going to win a game. And so those are things we focused on and really put a lot of work on.
In Priceville, Kaylee Tinglestad, 48 Sports, on your side.
Some exciting stuff. You're just not going to want to miss it. And speaking of which, let's go into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. A group of parents protesting and demanding answers following the situation with Deschler High School student August Borden. We'll have the latest on that coming up. More 9/11 memorial events happening here in North Alabama. And finally, the recovery journey of the man who was tragically bitten by a venomous snake last Thursday. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And speaking of which, I am actually speaking with that man who got bit by the snake coming up at 4. So I do have to get ready for that interview, but we'll have all the latest on air and online. We'll post the full interview on our website, WAFF.com. Again, that will be later on tonight, but that is it for today's Before the Four. Thank you all for sticking around and spending a bit of your Thursday afternoon here. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's evening newscast, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.